Hey, what's up everyone, Grant here. Welcome back to another camera sample video. This time it's with the HTC U Ultra. This is obviously being shot from the front-facing camera. This is at 1080p, 30 frames per second. I wanted to bring you some daytime footage from the front-facing camera here so you can check out the video quality as well as the audio. It's got that 4-mic setup for 3D audio. So if you want to hear that 3D audio sound, plug in your headphones. This is the daytime. It's not exactly the sunniest, but it's the best that we're going to get for now. If you want to see some bright sunny footage, let me know. I can always try to do that when we actually get some sunlight, maybe another week from now, and upload that straight to YouTube for you so you can check that out. I'll be putting up some still photos being taken from this in both good light and low light, as well as some additional video footage from the front and rear camera. If you have any other questions or comments or want to see anything else about the cameras, let me know in the comments. Other than that, let's get to the rest of the video. Hey guys, and here we are with some rear camera footage of the HTC U Ultra at 1080p, 30 frames per second. It can shoot up to 4K video. It cannot shoot at 1080p, 60 frames per second, which is still a disappointment. The HTC 10 did not include that either, and so you would have hoped that they would have been able to include 1080p at 60 frames per second as a not recording option, especially since this is, I think, a flagship phone, and really in 2017 we need to be having a 1080p 60 frame per second option in our top-end phones here. So that is a disappointment in the U Ultra. But you can take a look at some camera footage from the rear camera here. I'm just standing still and panning around so you can kind of take a look at it. We'll try to do the zoom and see what that looks like here. So pretty smooth zoom, looks pretty clear in the viewfinder. We'll zoom back out, pan around a bit more. We'll do some walking so you can kind of check out the video stabilization here at 30 frames per second, 1080p video. Overall, I must say I'm pretty impressed with the U Ultra camera as a whole for both still photos and video. The HTC 10 was a bit of a disappointment for me, given that it scored really high on the DxOMark, which I guess doesn't really mean a whole lot. As much as they hyped up the HTC 10 camera, it was a bit of a disappointment for me. The quality just wasn't quite there. But I must say in the U Ultra, I thought it was going to be much of the same, since the camera hardware looked very similar in the U Ultra. It does have the newer Sony sensor in it, but like we all know, a lot of the processing comes down to software processing to really generate that photo quality like the pixel. And given HTC's track record, I wasn't really confident that they'd be able to do that here in the U Ultra. But I must say, so far from what I see in the still photos, in both good light and low light, they're coming out really, really good. And it's definitely an upgrade over the HTC 10. It's a clear, obvious improvement over the 10 here in the U Ultra, so that's very good to see. So far, video seems pretty good. I was able to record some low light video on the U Ultra and download that and take a look on my computer. And I thought the low light footage, which I'm going to be posting up here as well in this video, came out pretty good and really exceeded expectation. So far, so good with this daytime video, even though it's a bit cloudy and overcast. It is looking pretty good in the viewfinder, but again, we'll take it, download it off the phone and see what it looks like. And I'll have my final commentary at the end of this video of what I think of the overall phone video quality as well as photo quality in all these different lighting conditions. But just wanted to give you a quick sample here of the rear camera in 1080p 30 frames per second on the HTC U Ultra. Okay, and we can test the autofocus here, since the U Ultra adds face detection autofocus. So you can see close up in the bokeh effect here, the blurred out background, shift focus from object to object. This is pretty quick focusing here, at very close proximity. You can see that back is blurred out, shift focus, it immediately focuses in, put it back, it immediately focuses in back on the foreground, blurs out the background, focuses in. So face detection really seems to make a difference here in the U Ultra. Here's some quick 4K footage on the HTC U Ultra from the rear camera. And you notice there's a 6-minute time limit here. There's a timer showing in the viewfinder counting down from 6 minutes, so I guess you cannot take more than 6 minutes of 4K footage on the U Ultra. But I just wanted to give you a sample clip here of what it looks like in 4K. We'll test out the zoom here. And most cameras don't stabilize at 4K. And so that's where you start to see a lot of the shakiness start to occur, especially when you zoom in. So that looks pretty good on the zoom, pretty stable, not too shaky on the zoom. Zoom all the way back out. So given that it's fairly overcast today, the picture quality actually looks fairly good here in the U Ultra. You can try to hear all that background noise in the street, so you can see how clear my voice is against that. I noticed the U Ultra, even though it has these 4 microphones and does a good job at 3D audio, what they say is 3D audio. But of course the 3D audio is only when you plug in your headphones can you hear that difference. But what I do notice is that it does pick up really good audio and it's very crisp, but it's not very good at directional audio, so it's not going to pick up and determine where the main audio source is coming from. So I notice the background noise comes in nice and crisp and clear, but it doesn't kind of muddle it out and kind of focus in on my voice. So directional audio doesn't seem to be as good on the U Ultra, but overall audio tends to be nice and crisp. But you be the judge and let me know what you think of this 4K footage here. Here we are with some additional 4K footage, this time away from the street noise, but just to test the autofocus here in 4K real quick. You can see it focus up in the foreground, blurred out background, shifts out to the background, focuses in, focuses back to the foreground. So a really quick autofocus here in 4K. That phase detection doing its thing, really making a difference here on the U Ultra. Hopefully you can hear some difference in the audio quality as well. We're away from the street, so a lot less background noise. You can see a little bit of focus hunting there, but overall looks pretty good. I just wanted to give you a sample of little bit of 4K sample away from the street, so you can kind of hear the audio quality where there's a lot less background noise. But there you go, real quick test of some autofocus in 4K, as well as a little bit more audio with less background. Alright, so just trying to do a quick test of the front-facing camera of the HTC U Ultra being recorded at 1080p and 30 frames per second. This is supposed to have 3D audio, so like 4 different microphones picking up audio, so the audio should sound pretty good and crisp. So really want to be interested in how that turns out, but the picture quality in the viewfinder looks pretty sharp here on the front-facing camera, which is a 16 megapixel camera with ultra pixel technology. And it's just after sunset here, so it's a definitely good low light situation. And we'll get the lights in the back, which tend to kind of flare out on some cameras. I see a lot of noise in the viewfinder, so it'll be really interesting to see how this footage turns out. But it's just a really quick low light camera sample from the front facing camera on the HTC U Ultra. Here's a low light camera sample from the rear facing camera on the HTC U Ultra. This is being recorded at 1080p 30 frames per second. It'd be really good to note the audio quality on this video, because the U Ultra sports what they call 3D audio, where it has, I believe, 4 microphones to pick up audio on this device, so audio should sound pretty crisp. See if you can pick up the audio from the fountain here, as well as from maybe some of the passing cars. It's after sunset, so it's a good little light test here. A lot of cameras tend to flare out these lights up here, and I do see some flaring, but it's not too bad. And the tint on these videos from other cameras tends to turn out pretty orangish or yellow, because of the lights that are being used here are not white light, they are kind of that orangey yellowish light. But this looks fairly good from the viewfinder. Lights are being blown out just a little bit, but just want to give you a quick sample on the rear facing camera on the HTC U Ultra. Let me know what you think about the camera quality here. Here's a quick sample of the rear facing camera on the HTC U Ultra in 4K. So I did another quick video sample in 1080p 30 frames per second at the exact same time, so it's the same time of day, same scenery, everything. So you can compare the quality of the 1080p video footage to this 4K video footage. See the bright lights there, see how much they're flaring out a little bit, not too bad. Also pay attention to some of the audio quality. If it changes between 4K and 1080p, it really shouldn't. So you can judge the quality of that 3D audio that the U Ultra has. So picking up audio from, I think, 4 different mics, so the audio should be pretty crisp. You can also be able to test the audio quality with the sound of my voice against some background noise like this water fountain here. So just wanted to do a quick video sample in 4K on the rear facing camera of the HTC U Ultra. Now for a summary of what I think about the U Ultra cameras. I'll preface this by saying I'm not a camera expert. These are just my opinions after using the cameras and looking at the photos and videos, so I apologize if I mess up any terminology. Starting with the front-facing camera, the video looks a bit shaky as I'm holding the phone by hand, and I suppose this exposes the lack of OIS a bit. However, the picture quality looks very nice and brighter than it actually was on this cloudy day. This could be the ultra pixel technology at work here. Unfortunately, that also creates some dynamic range issues where the sky is a bit washed out. Lastly, the audio is crisp and clear, but the phone doesn't seem to emphasize directional audio where my voice doesn't sound as prominent and competes too much with the water fountain in the background. Other phones like the Mate 9 did a much better job of capturing directional audio. Check out my video on the Mate 9 versus Mate 8 to hear for yourself. At night, the picture quality is again brighter than the scene really was and is able to handle the bright lights well as there is no lens flaring. Color reproduction looks way better than other smartphone cameras in the same scene and conditions. Again, see my Mate 9 versus Mate 8 camera video to see for yourself. Unfortunately, again, the camera introduces quite a bit of noise. Just take a look at the sky in the background there. Wrapping up the front camera, selfies look pretty good, but you can see the difference the ultra pixel mode makes in low light. Moving on to rear-facing camera, the picture is not as bright as the front camera and you can see some focus hunting going on. Nothing too bad, but it is noticeable. The video stabilization looks pretty nice and smooth, but feels like the Pixel, where the pans while moving look a bit abrupt. Also, autofocus is nice and fast, including phase detection has clearly helped the U Ultra a lot. At night, much like the front camera, the rear camera produces a lot of lens flaring from bright lights, creating a haze in the picture quality. The color reproduction looks much better, meaning less orangish than other cameras in the same scene and lighting. Again, check out my Mate 9 camera video to see for yourself. As for rear-facing photos, it also shows some slight dynamic range issues in overcast conditions, where the darks in the trees are a bit too dark and the gray sky is a bit too washed out. Also, like in the video sample, the camera suffers from lens flares due to bright lights at night and produces some haze over the picture. That being said, the outdoor macro shots look amazing and the camera focuses very quickly, so it's not really a huge struggle to get these shots. Also, photos in good daylight look very nice as you'd expect. Low light photos look good and exceeded my expectations. However, it is amazing to see photos where there is a sliver of daylight to balance out any bright lights versus when the daylight is completely gone. These shots were taken 10 minutes apart, and it's interesting to see how with a bit of daylight there is no lens flare and the photo looks very good compared to when there is absolutely no daylight at all and the bright street lights create that lens flaring and that haze over the photo. Overall, the U Ultra cameras exceeded my expectations as I thought it'd be very similar to the slightly disappointing results I got with the HTC 10. The U Ultra is a clear step up for HTC and takes beautiful macro shots and pictures overall with quick autofocus. The videos come out looking very nice with great color reproduction and crisp audio. The camera's real downfall here are bright lights, which creates big lens flares and haze over the photos and videos. In fairness, other high-end phone cameras like the Google Pixel also struggle with bright lights, while others like the iPhone 7 Plus are a bit better at it. Lastly, directional audio quality could be improved to give the main subject's audio a bit more emphasis and punch. That being said, I've enjoyed using the U Ultra cameras, and while they aren't perfect, they do produce great looking photos and videos more often than not. So that's it for what I think, and as always, I'm more interested to hear what you think. So please leave a comment with your thoughts and opinions. Also, if there's anything else you want to know about the U Ultra cameras, please leave a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.